Ladies and gentlemen, meet Jack Briggs, the president of Springs Rescue Mission, a shining beacon of hope in the face of homelessness, poverty, and addiction. Springs Rescue Mission adopts a comprehensive approach, addressing the multifaceted challenges faced by individuals in need. With a steadfast focus on three pillars: housing, health, and work, Springs Rescue Mission provides daily support to over 600 clients, offering essential services such as food, shelter, medical assistance, addiction recovery, and job skills training. All of this takes place within a safe and welcoming environment. Today, Jack Briggs shares his insights into the life-transforming work of Springs Rescue Mission, an organization that offers hope and holistic support to those in need, with the ultimate goal of creating a path to a brighter and more promising future. Join us in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Jack Briggs as he imparts his invaluable insights and experiences to us.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Briggs. I'm the president and CEO of Springs Rescue Mission in Colorado Springs. And I don't know if the TALTalks folks knew that they were going to put me right after Hope Mountain, but it's fortuitous, and I'll get to that in just a second. Today I'm going to talk to you about what we do at Springs Rescue Mission, what we do in Colorado Springs, and I'm going to focus on three big principles. But before I get there, I have to answer the question that everybody asks me when they find out that I work with homelessness, and that question is this: Jack, when I pull up to the stoplight and there's somebody with a sign, what do I do? Now, I know why people ask that question. They ask that question because they feel guilty. They have something and they feel like the person they see doesn't, and that creates guilt. But I have to be honest. Guilt is about us, not them. It's something that we're trying to make go away. So the answer to the question, what do I do, is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you give them something. It doesn't matter if you don't give them something. So I'm going to say something radical here. You could ignore them. They're not going to write your license plate number down and go to the DMV and find out who you are. On the other hand, what you could do is what I do. Roll down your window and ask them their name. No one ever asks a homeless person what their name is. And when they respond with candy or caveman or cowboy, say, no, my name's Jack. What's your name? And at some point, they might actually answer you. My name's Mary. And you can say, it's nice to meet you, Mary. I hope you have an okay day. And then the light's going to change and you can drive off. On the other hand, if there's enough time, you can say, you know what, I noticed on your sign that you're hungry, or I noticed that there's something else that you need. Have you thought about going to a rescue mission? Or have you thought about trying to seek services in town? Now, I'm pointing this out because it's our first principle. And the first principle is this. When I give my name to somebody else and they give them their name back to me, that's a transaction. And everything, and I mean everything, on the street, in prison, drug dealers, prostitution, gangs, everything is a transaction. So if you just give something to somebody on the street, what you're doing is you're setting up a power differential. Because what you're saying is, I'm going to give you something, and in the context of the psychology of the streets, that kind of means I owe you something because I am worth less than you. So what we try to do at the rescue mission is we try to take this idea of transactions and turn it for good. So at the rescue mission, one of the first things we do when you first come to us is we do our very first transaction. Can anybody guess what that is? You got it. We ask them their name. Now, why is that a transaction for us? Because if you give us your name, I can find out if you have an open warrant, I can find out if you've been arrested for something, or if you've been kicked out of another shelter. There's a system that we can go into to see that. But what it's really about is trust. Because you can still come in. We're going to trust you enough to come in. Just don't fight, don't be mean to the staff or other clients, and you can stay. We're a low barrier mission. But it doesn't stop there. So another transaction that we do is when you come into the rescue mission and you want to stay with us for the first couple of times, you'll be in our relief shelter, which is the classic that you would think about. Somebody comes in, they spend the night, then they come out, and they get breakfast in the morning. And for us, they come out of the shelter area at 7 o'clock in the morning. But if you're only using our shelter and our food, your breakfast is at 8 o'clock. And it's an oatmeal breakfast with fruit and coffee and muffins and those sorts of things. Right? And people complain about that. They're like, Jack, why do I have to get oatmeal, first of all, and why do I have to wait an hour? I'm like, well, it's kind of designed that. First of all, oatmeal's good for you, so we're not going to argue about it. But I know how you can get a 7 o'clock in the morning egg and bacon breakfast. You leave the shelter, go get an egg and bacon breakfast. Well, how do I do that? You go over to our resource center and you talk to one of our counselors. What's going on in your life? Let's do a physical. Let's see if you've got something that's holding you back physically, mentally, behavioral health-wise. You do that, you have earned, because you've done something in the transaction, an egg and bacon breakfast. And it's yours. We're not going to take it away from you. There are a variety of other things that we do that are based on our second principle. And the second principle is incentives. We started off with transactions, we're talking about incentives now. So on the street, if you give something to somebody at a street corner, you are incentivizing them to come back there. Why? Because that's where they got stuff. So like the next day, they're like, oh, I want some more stuff. I better go back to that street corner because that's where I got it the last time. Instead, maybe, just maybe, you might direct them towards the rescue mission. So here are some examples of some of the transactional incentives that we have. We take pets. In fact, I like to say that I'm the only pet shelter in town in Colorado Springs that takes owners. Okay? Yeah, people like to donate to pet stores or pet stuff, so you don't say that. But anyway, the transaction there is if you'll take care of your pet, we'll provide a safe shelter for your pet. Now, why is that important? Because if that pet's the only thing that has loved you for the last 2 years on the street, you'd rather stay outside and freeze than come in. And so that's the transaction. You see this open space up in the top right corner. We have a no sit lie ordinance in Colorado Springs. That means the law enforcement can come in and clean up areas. But you don't have any place to go. But you can always come to the rescue mission because we're always open and you can sit and lie all day in safety. When we enclosed our campus, we went from 25% women to 45%. Why? Because we provide safety and security. You can sit and lie all day. You can leave whenever you want. You're not going to get hurt. You're not going to get robbed. You're not going to get abused. If you look at the bottom right, you see the dentist. Now, previous speaker talked about teeth and feet. So we have a transactional relationship with a dental provider to help you with your teeth. What do they get out of it? They can bill Medicare. Right? So there's a transaction there. The incentive is you get better health. The last one is these red lockers. So when you come into the rescue mission initially, you're going to store your stuff in a storage area. But you only get access to it twice a day, evening and morning. So you can drop your stuff off in the evening and pick it up in the morning. But if you get into our program and you start to progress, I'll trade you that storage area for your own locker. And you can get your own stuff whenever you want to get it. Why? Because if we can build transactional activity with people where they get agency to make decisions for themselves, they start to rekindle the very, very dull embers of worth. You heard the previous speaker talk about worth and his assessment of his own worth. Well, I'm here to tell you that we can drive better worth in people where they begin to buy into their own recovery when we build their worth back up. We don't give it to them. We just help them recognize it again. So I want to tell you about Thomas. Thomas was out in one of our camps in Colorado Springs. And the police said, hey, tomorrow we're coming through and we're going to clean it up. So he came to the rescue mission. Thomas is a great example because 18 months after he came to the rescue mission, he was an addict and a dealer. He was clean, back with his family, had a job with the city, and wanted to come back and work for us. But we have a rule. You have to work 6 months somewhere else. And then you can come back and work for us. Because you got to know that you can make it. It's not us. It's you. You're the one who has work. You're the one who has the ability to do that. You want to come back and work for us? And we really wanted Thomas because he's awesome. But we don't do this alone. And this is what's so fortuitous about this conversation today. It's because all of us are kind of in this world together. We don't do this alone. So the campus, we started in 1996. Today we're about 14 acres, and we have what's called a resource center. We have over 50 partners who have occupied space in our resource center at certain times during the week so that they can provide services to clients. We don't have to be the answer to everybody's issue. And you know who one of our partners is? Hope Mountain, the folks you just heard from. They help us with our behavioral assessments. Now, why is it important to do this? Because in communities, when you bring services to one spot, the clients will come to one spot to get the services. And the more clients that come, the more programs that want to be there because there's more clients, because there's more, we start to build the flywheel of support of each other. We don't have to be the specialist in behavioral assessment because Hope Mountain is. We just provide them the opportunity to do it. Now, there are many cities in the country today about the same size as Colorado Springs, 700 to 800,000, that have thousands of people on the street each night. And they have such a problem, they're past the tipping point. They can't address individual needs. They have to do it in the aggregate. So they say, okay, we're just going to build a big place for people to sleep and a big place for people to eat. That is not going to solve the problem. You have to get to something where you can address problems individually. Because everybody's individual. We can't do this in the aggregate. We got to do it individually. And so we have service providers that do that. Now, our service providers come in all kinds of flavors. They're health, work, and housing. I won't go through all of those. But sometimes people ask me this, hey Jack, you guys are a faith-based organization and I don't know if I can work with you. I'm like, okay, that's all right. Let me ask you this question. Do you think people have worth? Simple question. Everybody says yes. I said, okay, we agree. You and I agree that that person has worth. Now, we may disagree on how that worth comes about, but that's not important. What's important is we just decided to agree with each other. So the question is, are we brave enough to work together right now, this one time, to do one thing to help that one person? And you know what people say? Yes. And they realize we're okay, and we realize they're okay. And we start to do more stuff together to help people. That's what we're about. So the challenge, the call to action, if you will, for you all. What are you going to do today? Today. Right now, in this room. I'm going to give you some advice. Don't try to change the world. You cannot change the world. I'm just going to tell you, okay? So try this instead. Be a positive influence in the 3 feet around you all day long. That's all you got to do. A positive influence in the 3 feet around you all day long. So that's my challenge to each one of you today, is try that. For the rest of the day until you go to bed, keep thinking, well, that one guy, he said 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet. Like, can I be a positive influence to the waitress? Or can I be a positive influence to the person who just cut me off? Can I be a positive influence to that person that I never met, but looks like they might need some help? They might need my coat. If we did that, we could probably change the world. So today's the 13th of October, on the 8th of November, our book is coming out. We're writing a book, we wrote it, and then they put it in this cover. This book, called Meeting Homelessness with Hope, expounds on my 3 big principles: transaction, incentives, and partnerships, right? Those 3 things together. Because if we can do transactions and incentives and partnerships together, and we positively influence the 3 feet around us all day long, we can probably change the world. Thank you.